7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tommy and Ellie here with you with another amazing CROC podcast for you all, the cancer survivor / thriver, the greatest people in the entire universe. Joining me once again, and a person I cannot live without, Angel Santana. Have faith, let it begin. Angel, we're both the men in black today, I think.
I think we look actually pretty good. This may just be a very, what's that? This may be a good look for us.
Yes, it makes us both look very thin. I think we should wear black every minute.
I would make that my life uniform.
Angel, welcome back from a little a 2-day vacation with your beautiful family.
Yes.
You look like you got some color. I know you had a tough day with the kids today, and God bless you. Yep, they're shooting me those arms, looking at your guns, everything looking good. I'm really excited to continue our module. Patients ask me all the time, I don't think there's a day that goes by that a patient won't ask me or express some dissatisfaction with their provider and want to change providers. And, I listen and I'm very polite and I let them talk and I let them spew and I let them boil off some of their frustrations, because as we know, here on the CROC podcast, we pull no punches. We defend no one except the survivor. That's for sure. We sometimes not only don't defend the medical system, we actually point out the blemishes and the shortcomings. And I think last week, I thought we did a nice job. You know what I'm proudest of last week's podcast, Angel?
What are you proud of most months?
The 15-point list. So for those of you who didn't hear it, we have Angel and I put together a 15-point checklist when you're looking to change providers and some of the things that you would be looking for in a provider. And we will, I promise, get that checklist to the website as soon as we can. A couple things came up this week, so we'll try to get it done as soon as we can. But we talked about trust, transparency, truth. We talked about empathy, compassion, concern, kindness, competence, excellence, experience, availability, accessibility, connection, culture, calmness, familiarity, selflessness, reliability, consistency, realism, the above and beyond, judgment, and their total deliberation on your case. So we'll get that out, as I said, as soon as we can. These are the things you're looking for in your provider. And today, we're going to take it a little bit further, one step further, and next week we'll finish up and we'll talk about that as well. So, Angel, without further ado, you let me know when I should shake and bake.
You can shake and bake right now.
All right. So the first thing you guys are going to hear from me, you're not going to want to hear from me. So you've had, with the exception of those unforgivable moments where your doctor actually steps over the line, your healthcare team, they step over the line and they do something unforgivable. We're not talking about those moments, but just, the millions of things that are wrong in the system, the millions of things that all of us do, all of your health providers do, including me most of all, first and foremost, make these mistakes every day and, alienate people and make them feel bad. And we don't mean to, but this is for those moments. I want to go over an expression they use mostly in the legal world, and it's called the right to cure. And what a right to cure means is that in some instances, when vendors have a contract with a company, and the company's not happy with their performance, many times, I know I had this in my contract with a hospital, I have the right to cure the dissatisfaction. So there are, the hospital would come to me and say, you know what, you're not hitting the mark, and here's the areas you're not hitting the mark on. You have 6 weeks to correct this problem. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm not trying to talk you out of changing doctors at all, but changing doctors, as we said from the first moment we talked about this subject, is not as easy as you think. So you might have a practitioner who actually does give a damn, and you might have a practitioner who actually does want to do the right thing for you. And I can tell you, even from my own personal experience, there's a very good chance that that practitioner could possibly not even know that you're having a problem. That practitioner might not even know that you're angry at them. So what I tell my patients, I tell them that this is the time where you have to get face to face with your doctor. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you don't want to do it. I know that you're afraid and you sense conflict and you sense a confrontation. And I know that's the last thing you need. You got enough on your plate that have to worry about that. But believe me when I tell you, it's essential, absolutely essential, that you go into that doctor's office and you face to face that doctor or that healthcare team. And I want you to consider, you don't have to do this, but I want you to at least consider giving them the right to cure. You might be shocked that the doctor you think doesn't care about you, the doctor you think really doesn't know you're alive, the doctor that keeps you waiting for 2.5 hours, the doctor that might have said something that upset you, the doctor that may have not called you back, whatever, again, except for the unforgivable sins we discussed, they may surprise you. I've had a couple of patients that unfortunately came to me too late where it was irreparable. But had they told me ahead of time, I think we had done an episode, Angel, on one of the confidential episodes where a patient, basically told me they didn't want to come back and they were disappointed
Yes.
with the care. And I said, well, how come you didn't tell me sooner? And you have my cell phone number. You could have called me if you were dissatisfied. And it was during COVID and everybody was in masks and no one could recognize anybody. And it was just and most of the contact was done with televisits or whatever. So it was just it was a perfect storm of just, what would you say? Just
Unfamiliarity.
unremediable, unredeemable situation.
And you know what's interesting about that episode, and I encourage everyone to go back. It was very interesting to hear your perspective on it because she or he, I don't want to specify, didn't really get to know you the way you would have interacted with that person. So that whole interaction was just so unfamiliar. That's why I said it that way. And it's just one for people to go back because it could happen in an actual interaction face to face. But in your case, they didn't get to really get the whole Ian Ellie specialty.
Exactly. And the reason why I say it is I know I pride myself on that, connection and whatever, but even, someone who does pride themselves and goes out of their way to try to establish that is not going to make everybody happy. And I'm just relating a personal incident that happened to me, but
right.
Had that person been dissatisfied and came to me and face to face me and said, I'm really disappointed. I didn't really like our first encounter. And then I didn't see you again after that. And, when you did see me, you didn't know who I was because I had a mask on, right? Blah, 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 blah. I think I would have been able to have cured the situation at that point. So
absolutely.
So you know what? Your provider might just surprise you. So the right to cure and the most essential thing is if you do leave, which Angel and I are not telling you not to, do it face to face, get there and, get all your courage and muster the courage. And you would be shocked that 99% of the time, the doctor, the healthcare provider, they'll be very polite. They'll say they're very sorry that things didn't work out. And they'll be on your side trying to get you to where you need to be. And the other thing is it's a learning experience. That patient that we talked about, there hasn't been many times in my career that I've had to deal with that, but the times that has happened has always made me a better person, a better doctor. And think about this, you don't know what another person is thinking. How many times, Angel, just in our own personal lives, we've had conflict and we didn't know we had conflict. We would be with someone we were having conflict with, be in their company and not know we're having conflict with them because they're not sharing that information. And we can't read people's minds. 99% of the fights that I have with my wife is because I think she thinks I could read her mind and I can't. And I try to tell her that I can't read her mind and she gets mad at me. because she's not clear. She doesn't identify what's bothering her, and I can't read her mind, so I don't know what she's thinking. So, the real life does come to play here for our cancer survivors. Number two, finally, right after 45 minutes of that, we get to bullet point number two. Bullet point number two is the grass is always greener, right? So you're in a relationship with your practitioner. It's not happening. You're not feeling it. It's just not working out. And what you're thinking is that there is a situation, and you have Ian Ellie and Santana's 15-point checklist. By the way, doesn't exist. You're not going to get all 15 of those points with a, 5 stars. I'll tell you that right now. You'll get, some of them will be 5 stars. Some of them will be 3 stars. There might be 1 or 2 things that are 1 star. But you're not going to get the whole shebang. So we want you to go into the change, with the new system, the new doctor, the new team. We want you to realize that they're going to have warts and they're going to have problems, and some of the same issues that you're experiencing will also be experienced in another center. So I never want you guys to think, oh my God, I'm going to change and it's going to be like day and night. It'll be better, I'm sure, especially if you have a really bad relationship with your doctor. And I'm sure there's a lot of doctors out there who really do care, and that's where we want you to be. But remember, be realistic with your expectations. Number 3, Angel, what do you tell? Well, your kids are too young and my kids are older, but when Ariel becomes 21, graduating college, and Noah's, getting a summer job from college, and neither of them like the jobs that they take, and they come home and say, Dad, I'm quitting this job. What are you going to tell them?
I would tell them that, if before you make any decisions, you have to give that job an opportunity.
Right. We did that already. Say they've done that.
You've done that already?
Advice? What's the other advice?
If you're not happy and that's not where you want to be, then I'll support you in finding something better.
Yeah, no, I know you. You're the best dad ever. I'm not leading you correctly. What I was trying to get to is never quit a job unless you have another job.
Well, that's what I meant. I'll help you find something else. In other words, and that's honestly what I meant by that. I just wasn't detailed, because you don't know how long it could take before you get the next job. So that's what I'm saying. Let me help you find something else while you're still, working things out. That's why I always say, if you're not happy at work, you shouldn't go into work at all. That's my metaphor. That's the way I live my life.
Yeah. I just know that if you're in a bad situation, you got to, if you have no other choices. So say you're a patient, you're a cancer survivor, and you have to be under medical care. Don't quit your doctor until you have another doctor in place, because you don't have the luxury of having, Daddy Santana, who's going to support you, while you're waiting, looking for another job. So you got to make sure that you have something in place. Number 4, as I said from the beginning, from last week, it's harder than it looks. I always pick on Memorial Sloan Kettering. One day their attorney is going to, serve us both with papers, I'm sure. But really Memorial Sloan Kettering, sticks out to me because they're so difficult to deal with. They're so hard to get an appointment with. I could call, the oncologist can call, the surgeon can call. We might even have trained with these doctors, and it's really not the doctors, it's the entire system. You can't get an appointment forever. They require a review of all of your records. It's almost like taking a college entrance examination. And, there's the supply and the demand, right? So there's only 2 centers in the entire world that have the branding when it comes to the elite cancer centers. So Memorial Sloan Kettering and MD Anderson. Those 2 centers are, you could go to UCLA, NYU, you can go all these other places. They don't have the same branding. So imagine everybody in our area, it's always Memorial Sloan Kettering. I have to go to Memorial. I have to go to Sloan. I have to go to Sloan. I have to go to Sloan. I have to go to Memorial. Well, that's great. But, supply and demand is something we're going to talk about next week in part 3, and take a little look behind the curtain as far as the realities and how your doctors really do The reason why you're having such trouble with your doctor is because they're holding you hostage. They're not holding you hostage knowingly. They're not doing it on purpose. They're holding you hostage because there's a demand for really good doctors and there's not a supply. So it's like a business. If you have the demand and you don't have the supply that's available, it could be a Cabbage Patch Kid. It could be, a specialized jersey that's out of stock, or it could be finding a great doctor. There's a limit. So, we're going to talk about that next week. So it is a lot harder than you think. The actual process, point 5, I want you guys to really take this very seriously. I mean, I want you to go talk to your new, providers. My cousins, uncles, sisters, nephews, girlfriends, next door neighbors, divorced cousin by third degree, went to this doctor in, Knoxville, Tennessee. That's supposed to be the greatest doctor in the whole world. Well, that's great. And then you call and they say, yeah, we take your insurance, which we'll talk about in a second. And yes, we'll take you next Tuesday. That'd be great. But you don't know anything about this person. So you need to do your digging. You have to do your searching, look at their health grades, look at some of their reviews, look at some of the papers that they've written. Go to YouTube. Angel, myself, and Rod, we're putting a lot of our stuff on YouTube. So people who don't know us will get a little feel for the flavor of the way we sort of conduct ourselves. And hopefully you'll sense the legitimacy and the genuineness, not a word, we make them up, of how we really feel about you guys, because we really do care about you. And that comes through, I think. And, I'm sure the doctors that you're going to be finding have presence in social media, or presence on YouTube, or presence, just getting to know, I just had to refer somebody to somebody, and we went through all of you can find out where they went to school, where they trained, all these types of things. So do your due diligence. And again, we talked about this last week, but record exchange, that is not as easy as it sounds either. Your doctors are going to need, the new doctors will need all of the medical records that you possess. And believe me when I tell you, you only have the tip of the iceberg. You have way more records than you even know about, and you need to get them. And you have to get the specialized records, the pathology slides and the radiology discs. Handing a doctor an x-ray report does not cut it. You absolutely have to have the films to be reviewed by your new team. A pathology report is not good enough for many of these big centers. They want to look at the pathology. And believe it or not, in 35 years, it has happened. I can't say a lot, but it's happened, probably more than it should, where diagnoses have been changed by reviewing the pathology slides. So that's something to think about. Angel, when you or one of your kids or your wife or your parents go to a doctor, are you going to go to a doctor not knowing whether or not they take your insurance?
Absolutely not. That's the first thing I call and ask. I actually call my insurance first, and then I call them.
And you know how many times the insurance company tells you one thing and the hospital or the doctor tells you another thing? That's another subject for another day. But
yes,
quite frankly, that's something you really need to be on top of. So
absolutely,
that should have been bullet point number 1, right? But important. So that should be really your lead. You might as well not fall in love with somebody that you have no chance of being able to date, right? So something to think about. The other thing is going to sound a little crazy, but you've been to the doctor that you're changing from. I'm sure you don't hate every single person in that office. I'm hoping that you don't even hate the practitioner. I'm hoping that, again, unless it's one of those unforgivable, like the receptionist calls you to tell you you have cancer on the telephone, one of the unforgivable sins. Say that doesn't happen. It's just not working out, or you just can't stand waiting 2.5 hours every time you need to go see that person, or the person doesn't call you back. These little things that add up and they become big things. But maybe you really like the nurse. Maybe you really connected with the nurse. Maybe, the front desk is just really nice to you and they really care about you and they're praying for you. Or, somebody, the physical therapist or the nutritionist or whatever. I encourage you to have closure with that office. I encourage you to go and say goodbye and tell them, listen, it wasn't you. It just, It didn't work out. I just want to let you guys to know that I really appreciate everything you did for me, and I'm going to move on for a better fit for me. But I appreciate the work you've done for me, and I appreciate you guys taking care of me. And that will give you a sense of closure. Had you not done what we told you, and that's actually going, having a face-to-face, giving the doctor or the system the right to cure, and if that doesn't work out, then making your move and then being the better person, and going and having closure with that office is my recommendation. And Angel, I think it would be yours as well.
Absolutely.
The next to last thing is we're going to talk about a transition. So that there's going to be a transition point between your old system and your new system. Do not think, and this is sort of goes back to point 2, where the grass is always greener. Don't think the transition is going to be easy. Don't think that you were in hell and now you're going to be in heaven, and you're going to have instant relationships, and you're going to have instant, chia pet growth and bonding, and, stories exchange and laughing and giddiness and crying and shoulders to cry on, and, and tissues to wipe your tears. And all these people are going to just surround you like you're the most important thing on earth. They will, but they're going to do it at a pace that has to be reasonable with, the way relationships grow. When this is not 1840 where you see a pretty gal in the saloon and you say, I'm going to marry that girl. And the next day you propose and say, I'm going to marry you. And she says, okay, I'll marry you. What the hell? And you guys get married, you know nothing about each other. It's not 1880. It's like, you have to first talk, and you have to, have a cup of coffee. What's the first meeting is usually at Starbucks, right? Mostly in places of public where there's a lot of public people where
Oh yeah.
turn out to be Angel or me, you can run away from without, with ducking out without us knowing about it. AKA Angel's famous bad date stories on Have Faith, Let It Begin. All kidding aside, it's going to take time to establish those relationships. It's going to take time to get to know each other, and it's going to take time for them to get to know you. So please realize that it's a transition. It's about your attitude. It's about your expectations, and realize that it takes time to build these relationships. And last but not least, before we leave today's podcast, we want you to be able to pay it forward. For you, the cancer survivor thriver, the thought of having to change doctors, you've been diagnosed with cancer, you've been hit over the head with an axe, you're dazed, you're scared, you're freaking out, and you go to this office and they're not hitting the high note and it's just not working out. And now you have to go talk to them, get your records, tell them that you're changing, find the right fit, get all of your records to them, see if they take your insurance. Then you go and you meet them and you're sort of satisfied. You think it's going to work out. You're not entirely sure. You don't want there to be any gaps, in your treatment. You want to have good continuity of care. And all of a sudden, you have to, all of what you go through to achieve that. I want you to take that experience and help another survivor down the road after you're done with your active treatment and all of your acute side effects are done and you're back to your normal life. I want you to remember this podcast, and I want you to take that experience and all that you had to do to already, you're already overburdened with the amount of courage you have to show. And now you need that little extra bit. And I want you to tell somebody that it's going to be okay, that you've been through it, you survived it, it was the best thing you ever did, and you will help that person get through. Angel, your thoughts?
I think it's interesting that we've come full circle yet again. I think really at the end of the day, it comes to knowing who you are as a person, trusting your instincts, trusting your gut, but more importantly, being able to feel comfortable in your environment so that it will allow you the capability of making the right decisions. And I think today proves that point. And I think that, it's perfect to do this on the 4th of July weekend. And I think that it's important that, as people travel, they're aware of their surroundings and what their expectations may or may not be.
Angel, thank you for everything you do for our survivors. You're an amazing person. Everybody have faith, let it begin. All kidding aside, go listen to his what do we call it? What is it? The crazy date stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you might want to hear a few if you guys want a little laugh. Of course, if you ever want some inspiration and some really good sacred and kind words and some good prayer, Angel's your guy as well. Rod Freeman, God bless you, my friend. We're here for you. Thank you for everything you do for us. We are absolutely can't wait to see you, and we love you. And thanks for everything you do for us and for our survivors. The board of directors for your sacrifice, for everything you do for the survivors/thrivers. You guys give your time, your talent weekly. Thank you for giving us notes. Thank you for telling us where we can be better to help serve our survivors. Michael John Benzea, Charlotte Larson, for your belief and support of the podcast and for what we do here in the CROC organization. And lastly, who do we do it for, Angel? We do it for our survivors. We do it for our thrivers. This is your pep talk. You guys have a lot going on. You have a lot on your plate. You're scared. You're overwhelmed. You're in pain. You think you're going to die. Things look like it's bleakest when it's darkest in the middle of the night. And this is your middle of the night. The middle of the night when you have to make that decision to change to a new doctor. Now you have a whole new set of circumstances and a whole new set of challenges to have to try to overcome. You have to try to now get your records, find a new doctor, and get them to take good care of you. And you're afraid, and you're terrified, and you're desperate, and you're alone. And we get that. And that's why we're here. We're here. Angel and I are here to help give you decisions, help you make decisions with information, empower you with information to help you through your survivorship. You are all we care about. We go to work every day thinking about you guys. We go to work every day trying to be the best we can for you guys to try to inspire not just the people we work with, not just the people in our medical system or hospital, but anyone that we touch on this podcast. We want them to know that the bar can never be set high enough for you guys. You guys are courageous, you're brave, you're strong, you're absolutely worthy, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're witty, you're beautiful. There is not one thing wrong with you. I don't care what anybody says or what you feel. If you feel disfigured or harmed or somehow changed from cancer, it has only made you more beautiful, beautiful inside and beautiful outside. We always end this podcast the same way, with a blessing. On behalf of Angel and the rest of the board of directors, we wish you all of our cancer survivors/thrivers, a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. God bless you. God be with you. Peace.